Hi, I'm Brenda Rose, and this is my case study over internet use violations. Category 1, problem identification and analysis. First of all, I had to identify what do I know from the case study. There were 4 main things that I could come up with that I knew based on the information that was given. First, that there's a history of parents and students being upset in regard to Ms. Walker's courses, and that they had voiced those concerns to Dr. Forbes before. So secondly, that Dr. Forbes, as the principal, has already fielded concerns from parents prior to this incident. The third thing was that Dr. Forbes had, after receiving those complaints, visited with Ms. Walker and had offered different suggestions to her on ways that he felt that she could kind of lower the stress load for her students, as well as increase the positive interactions with the students. However, Dr. Forbes felt that nothing really had changed after having that conversation with Ms. Walker. Last, a web page was designed with the intent of Ms. Walker viewing the information, which is why she was actually emailed the link. So it's not that she found it by accident, but she actually was sent the link by an anonymous source, showing that there was intent there. The web page was made for her to see, which then resulted in her feeling threatened due to the fact that somebody posted if they would like Ms. Walker to disappear. Secondly, what do I still need to know in order to probably make a more informed decision? Again, there were 4 main points that came up. First was, how do the students feel in regard to Ms. Walker and her courses? We hear how the parents feel, but not necessarily directly from the students. How has Dr. Forbes addressed these complaints with the parents? Has he reinforced her qualifications, that kind of thing? Are there student growth measures out there that can help show the students are learning? That would kind of help justify what she's teaching a little bit more. Third, what strategies has he suggested to Ms. Walker, and why has she felt that they wouldn't work or that they didn't work in her classroom? We really don't have the exact follow-up in what she's implemented. And lastly, what technological help is available within the district to kind of help track the origin of the email as well as the web page to have that data prior to meeting with anyone. So third, identifying the problem. I feel the problem is built upon kind of a collection of various points. First, for some reason, the students and others are not buying into how Ms. Walker is teaching. Secondly, those that have complained feel like nothing has been done adequately, or that there's been a lack of communication from the school, which thirdly led to these parties or the party creating the web page, feeling that they needed to go about this avenue in order to make their complaint known. So all of these things kind of lead to the overall problem in the course study, which I felt was that Ms. Walker feels threatened as a result of 1 or more people creating a web page voicing negativity toward her and her teaching due to their frustrations with the workload and stresses associated with her rigorous coursework. That leads us to category 2, which is the proposed plan of action with the appropriate strategies for implementation. I have various points. Here are the first 2. The first is that I feel, above all else, the safety of Ms. Clark needs to be taken into consideration. If she feels threatened and that she's not safe, there is a chance that police may need to be involved or be made aware of the situation and just be briefed on the school's plan of action. What does the school plan to do? But that way, if anything was to take place, that the police would already have knowledge of what was happening. Secondly, the technology team at the school needs to be contacted so that they can determine kind of what role they can play. Can they find the origin of the email, the origin of the web page, who all contributed that type of information? That then leads to the third part of the plan of action, is that reliable data needs to be collected. I feel like this data needs to be collected before you can meet with anyone or begin making assumptions on who is all involved. So then fourth, once the data has been collected, then parties in relation to the threats can be brought in individually. I feel that the parents of the minors need to be included so that they can be asked on their involvement and knowledge of the situation. I feel like they need to be dealt with more one-on-one prior to full group. Once individuals have all been spoken to, then a collective meeting needs to be held with all parties involved, including Ms. Clark. And then in this final meeting, this kind of leads to Ms. Clark and all parties being able to sit down and have a 2-way conversation. This way they can voice legitimate concerns while also allowing Ms. Clark to voice her reasoning behind her rigorous work in her courses. So some strategies to implement the plan. Accurate data must be gathered prior to having the meeting. Students and parents need to be able to meet individually with the administrator so that they can allow private conversations. Ms. Clark needs to be involved, if not throughout the entire point. I believe that she does need to be kept up with through the administrator, but she needs to have an active role in that final discussion. That way she has the opportunity to voice her side, as well as maybe let them have a greater understanding of her coursework and why she requires what she does. And also a final resolution or plan of action needs to be written for all parties involved. Where are they going to go from here? So that this isn't just resolved with this meeting, but kind of in that meeting they come up with another plan of action of how to move forward from this point. Category 3, resolving the issues based on promoting the success of all students. Now, the reasons for the resolution is that students in Ms. Clark's courses, they're taking a specialized science course, so that shows that there is a desire to learn advanced information, and for a lot of them, probably help prepare them for what's going to happen after they graduate from high school. Secondly, Ms. Clark is highly educated, which is proven by her credentials. She's very knowledgeable in the various areas, so she is qualified to be teaching the information she's giving to her students. Thirdly, the students in her class are concerned. Because of the rigor and the demands of her courses, they're concerned about their grades, which can affect their GPA, which in result may result in them not being awarded valedictorian or salutatorian. So for these 3 reasons, a resolution must be made so that students are able to receive the education they need, as well as have their social and emotional needs being met, so that they're looking at the students' overall well-being. So what is best for students? First and foremost, students should receive academic instruction that's challenging and pertinent to their areas of interest. Secondly, students should have the ability to voice concerns in a constructive way through two-way communication with the teacher. Kind of going back to the overall chain of command and being able to start with that communication with the teacher prior to having it go above her. Third, students should be able to focus on the learning outcome above and beyond the final grade. So instead of the emphasis being placed on the grade, I feel that the emphasis needs to be placed on the learning and the challenge that they're being presented. So the resolution is that Ms. Clark and her students, along with the administrative team, will hold open communication. Ms. Clark will be able to share her vision, kind of in her learning outcomes for her courses, and then students in return would also be able to share their feedback and concerns about the workload. Additionally, I feel that the school needs to see if they can determine a way to either help weight the grades for advanced courses, or if they can come up with another way of presenting a grade, not necessarily where the grade is naturally lower because of the rigor. That way, students would be able to focus on the coursework and not the grade. The rationale behind the resolution is that Ms. Clark is highly qualified for her position, as it was stated in her level of education, and as Dr. Forbes said, he greatly looks at presenting the most qualified teacher applicants for the job. Secondly, a great deal of the parent-student concerns were all based on the overall grade, not just the learning atmosphere, which makes me believe that part of the focus is on the grade and not necessarily possibly what's being taught or how it's taught. Third, Dr. Forbes wanted to provide Ms. Clark with positive interactions with students, so I believe that one way to start this is by having the open communication that could kind of help facilitate that and open up some of those conversations so that they would hopefully continue. Category 4, debriefing the problem. When I first read the case study and looked at the problem, there were some questions that kind of came to mind that helped me reflect on what was I thinking, feeling, and valuing, kind of in regard to the overall situation. First was, what were the students struggling with the most when it came to Ms. Clark's teaching style? What specifically was causing them to struggle, and what were the things that needed to be changed? Secondly, was there really a concern about the course, or was the concern just about the grades related to the GPA? Kind of getting to the root of what the real problem was and what the real concern was so you can address that. And sometimes I feel that other problems get brought into it without directly looking at the impact. Third was, in what ways did Ms. Clark need further assistance to help resolve the problem? Did she need some classroom management techniques? Did she need to have a mentor teacher? Other things like that that could also help her in the situation, but yet be something that was non-threatening. 3 issues that may be unresolved at the conclusion of this study is that first, is the situation taken care of from this point forward? We may be able to take care of the specific problem, but is there going to be a change for all parties involved so that this is resolved? Secondly, will the open lines of communication continue, or will there no longer be any more negative attacks? Will they be able to cooperate and have conversations with each other to help resolve further issues? And third, what legal actions, if any, will result from the fact that Ms. Clark did feel threatened? Because even though Dr. Forbes felt that it was a prank, there is a lot of validity here to focus on the fact that she did feel threatened. Reflecting on standard 2, first component was, how did I demonstrate a sense of integrity and ethical behavior as a model for other members in the school community? First, I validated Ms. Clark's concerns and the fact that she was threatened, so I was showing support for her. Secondly, I gathered information from all sides before I made any accusations. And lastly, I used this as an opportunity to create open dialogue so everybody could voice their opinions, but yet this was done in a positive and controlled manner. Secondly, how did I treat people fairly, equitably, and with dignity and respect? First, I took Ms. Clark's feelings into consideration from the beginning. The fact that she felt threatened warranted me validating that fear and taking her seriously, even if I did feel like it was a prank. Secondly, was that prior to making any assumptions, I went to the tech team and had them help gather information so that I had that data before pulling random students. Third, as part of the resolution, I worked with everyone together to have an open and honest conversation so that I could help create a better atmosphere from that point forward. Instead of being the go-between all these conversations, bringing it together so that everybody is brought and has the same conversation, I feel helps in this way. Component 3 was, how did I demonstrate a personal and professional code of ethics that inspires others to higher levels of performance? First is that in my conversation with parents, I would reinforce Ms. Clark's qualifications and her level of understanding, demonstrating to them that she is qualified to teach this course and why she was chosen for the position. Secondly, I allowed Ms. Clark the opportunity to share her vision for her classroom with the parents and the students. There's a good chance that maybe they didn't know this prior, so that they would have a better understanding of where she's coming from and what she wants for her students. Third, I encourage students to share their concerns openly with Ms. Clark in a positive way, so that she wouldn't feel threatened, but yet she could receive feedback from them, and then use this feedback to help change her course and her plan of action for her classes. Through all of this, the resources that I used was the case study provided from Case Studies in 21st Century School Administration, Addressing Challenges for Educational Leadership. I enjoyed being able to look at this case study and kind of think about what are some things that I would do as a school administrator, as well as making sure that all parties involved felt that they were getting something out of it. And I hope that I've been able to share that with you through this case study analysis.